Yes, we're back. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Thursday evening. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 2 of Carvers and Creators, a weekly demonstration and discussion with pumpkin carvers, sculptors, and multi-talented artists. First, we ask that you please give us a like and a follow on the platform you're watching us on. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and if you have any questions for the carvers and our special guest. Let's meet the carvers. First, he's an artist and sculptor from Boston, Massachusetts. He's a 2019 champion of Food Network's Outrageous Pumpkins. Paul Dever, welcome.
There he is.
Hey, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you. Next, he's a multimedia sculpture artist from Tucson, Arizona, and a finalist on Halloween Wars 2019 on the Food Network, Matt Harper.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Back when I had hair.
Maddie.
You hippie.
Yeah.
Our guest tonight is a master sculptor and special effects artist credited with creating and collaborating on some of Hollywood's most iconic creations. Please welcome Lee Joyner.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wonderful to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. This is a treat.
A true honor. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh,
My name is Michael Mondragon. I'll be running the show, moderating comments, and chiming in from time to time. Oh,
Yes.
stop.
So hot.
Let's check out our sculpts from last week. Last week's carving subject was Enraged Alien. Paul, this is
Hey.
awesome. Awesome.
Thanks. I feel like we were shaking off a little rust there from having July off.
He looks very amphibian. Like I love that about aliens. Your imagination can go anywhere. But he looks very he's a reptilian or something. He's kind of crawling up from the depths of some swamp on some random planet.
Yeah. Well, honestly, until I put the kind of the reptile pupils in there and irises and stuff, I kept singing Iron Maiden in my head. Like I was just doing a butternut squash version of Eddie.
Oh yeah.
There was an old game called Abe's Odyssey. It reminds me of that too.
Oh, I love
Okay,
it.
I'll go that direction then.
That's what you meant.
That's what I was thinking of.
That's beautiful.
Thanks, Dean.
Yes. It looks like something that ran from the hills. That's what I was thinking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the Dover Demon. That was kind
He's
of
the trooper right there.
could have been an alien. Yeah.
Awesome as always, Paul. Here's Matt.
Oh yeah.
You got so deep on that, dude. That nose, you have this ability to tuck a nose underneath anything.
Yeah.
So cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I was not in love with it. I kind of taking biting the tongue as if that was meant more rage or something. But anyway, I made a whole nose on the show and then literally just cut it all off. And so I kept digging and digging, and I was kind of getting close to the inside. But yeah, it's one of those ones I was telling you, Lee, earlier about. It's one of those ones where the show kind of forces you to put out there if you like it or not. And so you got to be uncomfortable, and at the same time, you got to put the effort in because it's going to be out there. So
Yeah.
Anyway,
Good point.
Yeah, super cool. And actually, I don't have the clay sculpture from her, but Shannon Van Pelt actually she did carving. So this was on her Instagram, but she didn't have the clay one, but hey, she got the vegetable. That's good.
I love it.
She knows what she's doing. That's for sure. That's amazing.
I mean, to do that to a yam, that's kind of the same quasi material. We're just scraping away the same way. So that was awesome to see that.
I love the bulbous eyes too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Little sleepy guy.
Sweet.
Well, I work in pixels and vectors. So here is my creation from last week. My enraged alien came down from another planet or another universe, and he's enraged because the first two people that his first two earthly encounters were Pauly Shore and the ghost of Doug Henning.
Is that the guy that is the guy Doug Henning? Is that the guy that used to try and make you eat your vegetables? Is that the guy?
No. This was. I think you're thinking of Slim Goodbody.
Right?
Oh my God! I think you are a plethora of useless knowledge.
Yeah, Vicky, out of left field again. Oh my God, that's so great.
I was just guessing. Am I right?
You must be, because it sounds right. And to make a wrestling pun, Mickey from the top rope.
Exactly.
Oh, well, awesome. I love these challenges every week. It definitely pushes you to just do something and be okay with it and just put it out there. But I always try to pop the crowd. So thanks, guys. It's always, I just try to make you guys laugh. So with these, but Lee, I'd like to,
hold on.
what's that?
Pauly Shore looks like the sister from Ferris Bueller's Day Off in this.
Oh, yes.
That's what I thought it was.
Gray.
Jennifer Gray.
Yeah. He's probably in the midst of saying buddy or something like that. Yeah, I can just see it.
Yes.
It's the weasel.
So, yeah.
It's actually pretty scary how much Pauly Shore and Doug Henning look alike in this picture. They're one's from the 90s, one from like the 70s.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, Rabbit, my fiance and I, we went and saw Pauly Shore. What was it, about a month ago?
Oh, no way. He's still around.
Yeah, oh yeah. But
Stick with the dancing.
Yeah, stick with the dancing. It wasn't necessarily a comedy show. It was more about him talking about his life and how he grew up at a comedy store, and it was really cool.
Oh, wow.
So I saw Pauly Shore open for Sam Kinison in 1989.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was like one of my first comedy shows I ever went to.
He talked a lot about Sam Kinison.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Well, Lee, I'd like to introduce you to the fourth member of Carvers and Creators responsible for choosing our carving subject tonight. It is the hollow wheel, the center spinner, and as always, Paul will tell you more about it right now.
Hello, children. Welcome back. The wheel. So what we're going to do, Lee, is we're going to spin this bad boy twice. The first time we spin it is going to give us our character, whether it's a Frankenstein, a wolfman, a demon, an alien, a ghost, guest choice, so be ready, a witch, a zombie, a clown, or a vampire. The second one is going to be the emotion to which we have to apply. We will have embarrassed, guest choice again, enraged, disturbed, hungry, nervous, naughty, disgusted, smug, and terrified. That's a good amount of combos there. It's like hitting the lottery if you get the right one. All right. Are we ready?
Here we go.
Let's do it.
3. What's a good spin? It's a witch.
Oh, Lord.
All right. What's this witch? How's she feeling? Oh, guest choice on the emotion.
Oh. Huh.
You can pick one of those, Lee, or you can come up with one of your own. It's
For the emotion, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you want
I
the
would
witch?
say, what were the options again, Paul?
Well, I can give you the option. I'll give you the options, and if you want to just throw them all to the wind. So what we have for emotions is enraged, disturbed, hungry, nervous, naughty, disgusted, smug, terrified, or embarrassed.
Naughty.
Oh, naughty witch.
Oh,
Matt,
man.
I think you own that movie. Oh wait, was I not on mute?
Whoops.
Naughty witch.
All right.
You naughty witch, you.
Naughty witch. You naughty little witch, you.
So there you go. And I'm going to commit it to the comments. So make it so.
Oh boy.
Here comes anxiety. Oh, hit me. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, seriously.
In chat, it shall be done. We're going to give you 5 minutes if you're carving or creating with us to get your tools together. Go pick up some carving oil if you know what we mean. We're going to go around the horn and see what everybody's carving oil is tonight. Lee, did you have any carving oil tonight?
Carving oil. Is that my?
You gotta loosen up the shoulders, the wrists, the fingers,
the alcohol.
Yeah.
I've got a big thing of water in
There you go.
my vape, so that's about.
Water is an oil.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's it.
It's a lubricant. It's a lubricant.
That's
You're good.
It's a lubricant, yeah.
Staying hydrated. Matt, what do you got?
Yeah.
I found a Grand Canyon brewery company. I live in Arizona, and it had a prickly pear wheat ale. It just kind of looked interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to taste like, and like anything else, I won't drink it if it's bad.
There you go.
I have
Not
backups.
an IPA.
It's not an IPA, so yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping it's good. Wheat ale with
Awesome.
prickly pear added. So it's got cactus, probably a lot of spikes in it.
Yeah. Paul, what do you got?
Well, because of a good friend of mine, he hooked me up. I'm going with another Bissell Brothers Brewing out of Maine. This one is the Substance Ale. It's a pretty low-key can, but it's a 6.6, 1 PINT. I don't know what the IBUs or the AKs or whatever else is on there. Yeah, the PCPs, any of that. But I'll tell you, I've had it before, and it's delicious. So,
Oh,
very happy.
right on.
I am not going down the path of unknown like Matt right now.
You've been there. Okay.
So when we went to Monsterpalooza recently, all three of us, all the carvers and creators, our first stop was at a tap room by Stone Brewing. And one of their signature beers, and you may have seen it before, it is the Arrogant Bastard Ale.
Here it is.
Dear God.
And I don't know if did you have this one, Paul?
Yeah, it was my least favorite of all the Arrogant Bastard ales. It, I had that many years ago. My younger sister thought it would be funny to give me the growler for Christmas.
It says Arrogant Bastard on it. Yeah.
So I had it. No, they had a lot of good beer, actually. I was pretty impressed with that brewery.
Yep.
Yeah.
We could have stayed there all night if Matt didn't get us kicked out.
I don't apologize. I don't remember it.
No, you shouldn't. It was amazing.
Well, cheers to all of our creations tonight. Thank you for joining us. We have
Cheers to Lee.
yes, we have a legend with us, so we're definitely going to get into his career. And well, I want to know, Lee, where you started.
Oh my, look at that photo. Wow. That was 1994 in Nashville, Tennessee with Animax Designs, working for The Lion King for Disney. Doing the maquette for Simba. This was before they had even done Melton. I don't know if you guys are familiar with one of Disney's wonderful sculptors, Kenneth Melton. I think Kenneth. But so I had to base it on just the turnarounds and the designs they had, but it was pretty close. But I got my start. Well, I can start about what inspired me when I was around 10, 11, maybe 12. I was a big reader of H.P. Lovecraft, and I loved Stephen King. I was a voracious reader, and I loved horror films. And I started sculpting, as most little metalheads like me did, little skulls with snakes coming out of the eye sockets, and with that really horrible green clay you could buy back in the early 80s at the art store. And then I got Richard Corson's stage makeup book, and Tom Savini's Grand Illusions book, and my first full head sculpture or full head size was in 11th grade, and it was the Phantom of the Opera, the Lon Chaney.
Oh, right on.
And then my next one at the University of Alabama, I think, was I saw Batman. I was a huge Joker and Batman fan way back then, and I was all excited when they were saying that Willem Dafoe was going to be the Joker, and then it turned out to be Jack Nicholson. But I had all these drawings I had done of Willem Dafoe as the Joker. And so I sculpted Michael Keaton with his Batman cowl, full size, but just the bust. But I redesigned the cowl to something I felt would be a little more appropriate from the comics. And then went to a few different schools, went to the Savannah College of Art and Design, had a scholarship for illustration, was there for about a year, was getting bored going out and drawing, churches and gravestones. And I was coming back and doing makeup and masks and sculpting in the dorm room. Then I went to a few different other schools, and then ended up at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh for industrial design. And that was at the year before that at the University of Alabama. I was a sculpture major and a Russian minor. I wanted to go into the CIA and do makeup. But my sculpting, I guess sculpting teacher was a Vietnamese chap who did beautiful pottery work. I wasn't doing it. I was doing more plaster carving and wood sculpture. And he tried to convince me to stay and wanted me to be his apprentice and really get into pottery. And I really wanted to get into film and makeup because it combined my love of art and my love of film, right? It was perfect combination. So I went to the Art Institute and met, people like Greg Funk and Will Huff and Tom Savini and Doug Henderson and some amazing people in the industry. And then that was a 2-year program. So I spent about 5 years in school, ended up with a 2-year degree because I, was a young punk that didn't really care about, what would transfer and what wouldn't. And you listen to the admissions people, and of course they say, no, but it doesn't. So then I went to Florida, lived with my dad in Cocoa Beach, and then had an interview with Sally Animatronics in Jacksonville that was about 2 hours away, an hour and a half. They had been around for a while. They were doing, I think, Showbiz Pizza Animatronics.
Wow.
Yeah, the Gorilla and those guys. And I had no idea, what to wear, how to act. I, had jobs at Walmart and JCPenney's and liquor stores, so I was just this kid. So my dad said, well, I have a suit you can wear because my dad's a businessman. He said, you need to wear a suit when you go interview. He had no idea about this industry. Yeah. So he loaned me his powder blue suit from the 1970s. And I put it on and it fit. And I drove up and had my portfolio and sat down. It was a hot, sweltering, humid Florida day. And they left me in the waiting room for about 2 hours. They thought I was just some crazy guy. Who's this idiot? And finally, I got so furious. I who am I supposed to interview with? And finally, I just walked across the street to speak to Raymond Wyrick, who was the lead sculptor, lead mold maker in charge of the lab, and just said, look, I've been here for 2 hours. You're supposed to talk to me. And he finally did. Nice guy, but I think they were just, who knows what was going on.
Right.
And he looked at my portfolio, and the only human head I had was a bust I'd sculpted of Dick Smith. And he said, okay, well, we're going to do a lot of human work here. So here's some clay, some eyeballs, an armature, just a pipe and some wire. Go home and sculpt Marilyn Monroe and make it look like she's wearing makeup, but I want her bald. So I had never done that before. And he said, I want you to take pictures of your process and keep tabs of your hours. I went home. I spent about 25 hours on it, drove back with all the pictures, the sculpture, laid it out. And he proceeded to just rip me new. I was just so embarrassed. And
oh my God,
horrible. And I had never really had solid criticism like a boss will give you on a job. And he gave it to me. He was nice, but he was like just vicious. And I went home and I was like, okay, got to choose a new career. This obviously isn't cutting it. And then a week later, he called and offered me a job. And he said, I just wanted to see how you would react to a tough criticism.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
And so I drove up, and it was part-time temporary, and I was making $3.75 an hour, and I had that apartment everybody gets at some point in their life where you've got a crackhead living above you and a broken lock and cockroaches crawling through holes in the wall and a leaky gas pipe and sewage backs up. It was horrible. But then about 10 months later, I was supervisor. And then about 4 months after that, I went to work with Animax as lead sculptor for the Lion King live puppet show for Disney.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah. And I was there for about a year. And then that contract went up, and I moved up to Michigan to live with my mom. There was an animatronics company in Battle Creek called Manatron. I went and interviewed and did some, work there, more molding and casting, because I had been doing a lot of skin making as well as vacuum bagging with Disney for carbon fiber skulls and Kevlar, and a lot of silicone injection, pressure injection into urethane molds. And then I realized, well, you know what? I need to go out and I made a model kit, Antioch. That was when garage kits were really, really big. If you remember Kit Builders and Amazing Figure Modeler magazine. And then I called 411 and information and got all my Cinefexes and my Fangorias and tried to find the names of effects studios in LA, and called and sent out my resume and a sample sheet of my work, and then set up, I think, 5 interviews, and then got a credit card and got a camper top for my pickup truck and my cat and my TV and
Oh my God.
cross country, and got a motel room in lovely Van Nuys for a week. And I said, I'll give myself a week, and got to Van Nuys. I planned it by getting the map before GPS, of course. And then it was like Dexter. I had the pins of where everything was and figured out where the center was. And that was where I was going to get the motel. And then the first interview I had was with Makeup Effects Lab with Alan Apone for a movie called Spy Hard with Leslie Nielsen.
Oh, yes.
He hired me on the spot. And the next day, that was it. That's the Raptor. The next day, I got an apartment. And the third day, I started work. And I canceled my other interviews. I wish I hadn't, but I didn't know. I'm sure I had Stan Winston on there and ADI and KMB and all these fantastic. But a lot of people in LA have gotten their start at MEL, and I'll always appreciate him for that. So then I started working in film and TV, and then took about a year off and worked with Ed Edmonds at Distortions, and then was working with Cinema Makeup School for a long time, and then it's moved up to where I am now. I've started my own school with B. Neal. I teach a lot, and I'll do occasional jobs, not that many, for film and TV. I think the last one I did was for the Orville, maybe, but with Jason over at Autonomous. But I've been focusing a little more on my gallery work and my own designs and my own style for the last probably 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
Sorry to bore everybody. That was
that's amazing.
Or everybody. I failed high school art class. That's like the beginning and end of my story. I feel so incompetent. No, that's fast. That really happened fast.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think I got lucky. That's all I did, though, was I researched and I sculpted, and I don't know. I always tell people that say, well, there's no way I could make it out here. Well, the only thing that separated me from anyone else that's not out here is you're not out here. That's all. I just happened to do it. I was in a great position where I could get a credit card to fund that first month, and happened to get hired and happened to find a place that wasn't too expensive and started working. Just did my best. That's all I could do.
Yeah, amazing.
Your best is good enough. Your best is definitely good enough.
Well, the stuff I love hearing about that is the way that you went about doing it back before cell phones and stuff, and it was like actual maps, and it was made.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I tell people how I did Photoshop before Photoshop, thank you, sweetheart. Was perfect. When I was, there was a hotel in Vegas called the MGM Grand, and it had a Alice in Wonderland, or not Alice in Wonderland, had a Wizard of Oz area with its animatronics. We had done the lion, for MGM that was breathing. We did the talking horse. We did all these different people. Like you'd have an old drunk character from the old westerns at the bar, and they would talk and move, and it was amazing. And when I got Glinda the Good Witch to sculpt, because I had done the collie and the females, and females obviously are tough to do. They gave me Glinda, so I had to rent the laser disc of Wizard of Oz. And then I think I bought it, the Criterion. Then I brought my Laserdisc player because I was a huge, Laserdisc guy, and I still have them all. But you would pause it, and then you would take a Polaroid, take a photo, then you would put it on the Xerox machine, and you'd have to get acetate, and then you would enlarge it to the size you wanted, and then you would hold it in front of it as a stencil. That was how you did it.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And then you would have to enlarge it, and then I would cut profile pieces out of cardboard or paper and hold it up, and constantly looking at it in the mirror and spinning it around, and that was tough.
That's awesome.
Oh my God. What year was that?
Pardon?
What year was that?
That was in 92. I think.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
92. And that was when we were, I remember when Sally was trying to get the bid for the Jurassic Park ride for Universal to do the dinosaurs, and they didn't get the dinosaurs, but I think they were in running to getting the skin making. And that was before translucent silicone. So we were using Dow Corning HS series, like the HS3, HS4. And then we had this guy with a big spraying pack that kind of looked like the Ghostbusters, battery.
Oh
pack.
yeah.
And the thing cost over $100,000.
Holy.
With mix and tip of the nozzle and spray. But it was kind of cool to be around when a lot of the material was being tested, and we were able to test a lot of techniques and materials. And I've gotten jobs doing everything in this industry, from sculpting to mold making to casting to painting to seaming, and then of course teaching people over the years. It made me appreciate every step of the process, which is super important. People don't realize that. They think the sculptor is the guy that's the rock star. Well, you could have a great sculpture, but as I found out on movies like Godzilla, if they accidentally ruin it in the mold making department, they're not going to spend the money to resculpt it. They're just going to move forward with it, So I would spend a month working on detail on the fins, and then they put too much PVA on and it lifted up, and then they just went ahead and molded it like that. And what are you going to do? You go, hey guys, I understand. I mean, you get mad at the moment, but you talk about it. So you get understanding the whole step of the way, because if you're a mold maker, you have to know, if you're dealing with prosthetics, you have to know what the makeup artist prefers in regards to the thickness of the flashing, or you have to know, if you're a sculptor, where does the makeup artist prefer to have it cut in regards to movement. And that's usually if you're working for a lab, the lab owner's responsibility. But a lot of the times, you'll have someone that's on set, they'll come in. And then when you're dealing with the intrinsic coloration of a silicone piece or gelatin, then the actor shows up with a tan. I mean, these are all the issues you've got to deal with. It's not just like what I love doing, which is sculpting, which is great. I mean, we have certain things we have to take into consideration, like balance and flow and weight, and will it stand on its own? And, like my last Cthulhu piece, I had to deal with that a lot, but fortunately it worked out. But again, I'm rambling. Sorry.
No, speaking of Cthulhu,
it's amazing.
Cthulhu. So that's a perfect segue, because I have a million questions about that. Your Lovecraft stuff.
I actually brought up my master cast because I haven't started selling them yet, but I can hold it and talk to you about it.
Oh, okay. Because I'm enamored. I love all your. So if you guys haven't gone and followed Lee yet, just go ahead and do it while you're on the show with us. I don't do it. We don't care. Go do it. But the Cthulhu stuff to me is just fascinating. We've got all of our favorites. Mickey will probably show a lot of this stuff. But one of the things about Cthulhu. Well, hello, fella. Yeah, this full size guy. I don't know your backstory, but I just saw also that George. I hate Mickey.
Yeah, hi George. I saw that.
Sukukidis.
Sukukidis. Thank you. And he is another amazing Lovecraft sculptor. There he is. Yeah. Amazing Lovecraft stuff. So I'd love to know more about how this came about, because he is, for the first time I think I've seen Beyond the Head. I've seen this is the most complete and most physical, like human-like thing I've ever seen. Related to him. So I'd love to hear more about how this piece came about.
Sure. Well, the one on the right is my Key of Cthulhu bust I did God knows how many years ago. It originally started out as a mind flayer for those that understand Dungeons and Dragons. But, everybody said, oh, it looks like Cthulhu, and I loved Cthulhu. So I said, well, I'll turn it into Cthulhu. And I finished it and did some more of the tentacles on the side. But he had 2 eyes. And Lovecraft, specifically when he drew it and when he talked about it, had 5 eyes. But I noticed a lot of people do Cthulhu, which is fine, but they always make him very muscular and with no fat. And in the story, he's even described as having flabby claws. So yeah, exactly. So I just decided, well, I want more of that gravity and more of that ponderousness that you would get with something so big. So I just took off my shirt and stood in the mirror and took some photos. And we got it. And then, I spent a long time on it. It was really a convention sculpture. He started out initially as Gentleman Cthulhu. I just had a tie and a suit, and it was just a bust. And then I added arms, I added wings, and then I gave him like Medusa tentacles at one point. I have a picture of it somewhere. And then it evolved into the backward bent legs, which I liked a lot because it just didn't feel right to have him standing upright. And then that was good because I could have the thighs a little more forward, but have the stomach kind of flow down. And then I gave him like the crotch tentacles and a lot. There's actually a blowhole on the top here, and then I have the kind of the ear canals here. So I tried to do a lot of anatomy with it that made sense. Yeah, you know, and even with the wings, there's an interesting story with how I sculpted those because I don't like sculpting on like mesh wire. A lot of people do that for wings. So what I did was I actually sculpted them negatively in a big block of wet clay, and then put in one layer of, sealed it, then did one layer of thin fiberglass cloth with resin, peeled it out, trimmed it, and then used thin wire to stitch it to the wire armature of the arm part. And then I just painted clay on, and then it kept it nice and consistently thin, and never was a problem. But you're locked into that shape at that point. But it's when you're looking at one particular piece of a sculpture, that piece is really important. But when you merge it with the rest of the sculpture, it's not as important. It flows. So your other bits kind of will compensate and create a more coherent poetry or sentence. When it might not fit perfectly, you can adjust other things to help adjust it too. I do that a lot with, like, my gazelle piece on her horns. I wanted to adjust the profile and the negative space from some directions, but keep it going differently in other directions. So I have a lot of like topographical curving of sharp lines and edges, but if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I was lucky to be trained in the Disney style, so that really taught. They had certain rules in regards to their sculpting, even though my pieces can be considered, non-traditional or what people might call ugly or strange. But learning how to finesse the relationship of your highlights and your shadows and your lines with curves and angles was what I really got from Disney. And balancing, like with the belly, the smoothness of it, then you have more detail up in the pecs, and then definitely more detail on the face, but then you've got smoother sections here to balance it. So I try to take all that into consideration, the negative space.
The skin is hanging, and it's also that you can see the fat. You can see it's like it's every bit of it flows perfectly together.
Yeah, and I can show you guys. This is.
Oh boy. Man,
and initially I had the legs cut off, but then I reattached them. So this is how big he is.
Oh wow!
And then I wanted to, have that, and you can see the kind of the blowhole.
Blowhole, yeah.
And I've got the spine and the ribs, and the hips. I love the hip. I love working on hips.
Yeah.
And then I also. Wanted to make sure the claws had something a little different to them. So the ones on the feet, I made the feet really big so it supports. And the good thing is he does stand by himself with everything attached, no problem. He's actually
nice.
But and then I've got two different, one here, and then I've got some kind of gill type structures, and then I don't know if you can see, but I even did kind of octopus eye
like the goat on it.
Yeah, exactly, like the goat. Exactly. Yeah, like the goat.
I love that.
And then with the claws and the tail, most people don't see the tail, but with the claws and the arms, I spent a lot of time on my connections to make sure everything snaps in place. So you can actually put them together like a plug and play. And then, of course, those that are serious are going to drill in, and they're going to put a wire or something to hold it together. But with the claws themselves, I tried to, I give this little, that's bubbles right there. That's bad cast. This little divot in the top, which was important to me, and then breaking the claws into threes, and then a slight bit of, membrane. And a lot of the stuff you might not see, but the clients, the people that buy it, will see it. And of course, I had to go with the old. I just love the shapes of, doing the old
articulated hands,
Dracula, and it little things like that. You don't have to do that, and that's the popping element of it, to make it jazzy and make it, people intuitively feel they like it. And then I tried to, have consistent tentacles coming off certain areas, like the elbows, and then of course I've got his crotch tentacles, make you go mad.
That's a boy. It's a boy.
Tail, I wanted to keep the tail smooth, but then I give it a little sucker thing at the bottom.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
But then, slight subtle, musculature, like right here, and of course here as well, with a little bit of the spine coming out and then fading away. So
wow, that's
amazing. Yeah, and this one has bubble in it too. Yeah,
so does that
I had TJ Loza, who's an incredible mold maker, do my mold for this, and it's I wanted to make it as complicated as possible, so it's as few pieces as possible. But even once the mold is made, you still have to, and it's tough with that body. That's why I think the first time I did it, it came out great, which thank God, because that's a lot of resin, because I'm going to make it solid. But, it's the angle, and it's making sure you have the right, airflow for your resin.
Oh wow, look at the wings.
So you can see it's thin enough to actually have light shine through it. And I wanted to go with kind of the bat style with the membrane right here, which was important to me.
Oh, even that.
And there's certain things I wasn't happy with, but I just kept it because it didn't bother me, and I didn't think it would like this curve. I didn't like in the beginning, but then I kind of was fine with it. And again, just carving in the texture, you can kind of see the weathered old, and I'd be able to put them and.
So now that will be a kit eventually, or what?
Yeah, I'm hoping to start selling it soon. Actually, I've got to send a copy out to my painter, but I might start selling it over time. I'll probably do for my own personal collection. I'll do a faux marble. I just love doing calcium carbonate mixtures with the still tech. Is my favorite combination, and that's how I do a lot of my Lovecraft I did, and the Key of Cthulhu, and my Alice in Wonderland series. I did some like the Cheshire Cat. I like the faux marble.
I think I might need one. I mean, I know George probably like, yeah, I got to have that too. But I certainly, it's just beautiful. I love, and I had a hard time kind of understanding the scale of it. But when you picked it, now I just have
when you hold it up, it's big.
Yeah, it does look big. So I just got to find a big spot in I got to clear something away in my office.
It should.
Something's got to go.
Let's see. What can I?
If you want to ship me out the Balrog, I mean, I can take that off your hands.
Yeah, it's on its way.
So you've got, they just pop in place. Just to give you an idea of the scale.
Oh wow!
This one is maybe the one with the bubbles. I'm not sure. But so that's pretty much. Oh, he's still got a pour hole on it. This is pretty much.
Yeah. Wow.
Size. And then I tried to give him a little bit of a like I was telling you earlier, like a pentagram shape with the wings.
Yeah.
So a lot of things you can do subconsciously.
The sad part is I wouldn't be able to do a paint job any justice. I'd be like, all right, there's just no way on earth I could paint that.
Well, to me, I to be honest, when friends of mine or when I buy a sculpture when they give me one, I will. Thank you. I will leave it unpainted, just because I prefer to see the direct language of the sculpture.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
So
that saves me a lot of time. Thank you.
Yeah. When I go to museums and such, like the British Museum is fantastic. I always love looking at the unfinished parts of the sculptures, or looking at them from behind or underneath, or where I can get somewhere. I mean, even though of course the sculpture itself is fantastic, but I always love to see what they were thinking. or it
Mhm.
makes it a little more attainable or relatable if I can see mistakes or little areas where there were problems, or just to see the sculpting marks. I love seeing sculpting marks in sculptures.
We got a chance to chat with the Shiflett brothers, and one of the beauties of a lot of their work is it has that like almost that unfinished but perfectly unfinished look to a lot of their really elaborate sculptures. Like their face won't be 100% done, but
Right.
the sculpture's done, and it just is it just adds that magical piece to it too.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic, super nice guys too.
Very
Oh yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
the best.
and they've done so much for the community in regards to sharing information and giving people forums and answering questions, and they're fantastic.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
That's an oldie.
Yeah.
That was in 95, I think. One of a series I did for a mask company, Cinema Secrets, when they were selling Halloween masks in Burbank. And I wanted to do a kind of a Stitch face mask, but using Robert De Niro's Frankenstein as my inspiration.
Oh.
Yeah. And then they ended up using it in some cheap horror, low budget film. So it was pretty funny. I think they called it Stitch Quilt Face or Stitch Face or something. Yeah, that one was a lot of fun. That was a good old, that was a Roma clay. You can tell by the color.
Roma plastilina.
Yeah, Roma plastilina. We had all the sulfur in it.
Yep. Can't do much with that.
Not nowadays. Back then, you didn't care because you weren't doing anything silicone.
Right.
Yeah.
That one eyeball that's in the mouth.
The mouth
is mind-boggling.
Yeah, so cool looking.
Yeah.
I think that was 94 or 95. One of those.
That's so good.
Oh, thank you.
So good.
Oh yeah, there's my Cheshire. So that's kind of the full marble style I like because of the transition.
I do too. It really does read marble. It reads like, yeah, that's amazing.
Well, my goal within the last 10 years has been to take something that is considered fantasy or sci-fi or horror, but why shouldn't it be treated the same as fine art? Why should fine artists look down on these technical, industrial, and sculptors? It belongs on a pedestal just as much as a Rodin or Michelangelo. I'm not saying my stuff. I'm saying in general. And if you can bring out emotions in people and they love your work, then what's the difference between a classical sculptor or someone that's postmodern or whatever? It makes no difference. So that's what I'm trying to do in regards to the marble and the bronze, and trying to do like the presented pieces. But I don't know if it'll ever work. But I believe that a lot of the university artists and those types of people, they look down on what we do, because it's a trade. I like taking the ugly and the disturbing and trying to make them strangely attractive and make
beautiful.
Like
like this. I mean, this is from a Cheshire Cat perspective. I mean, you picture one in your head, but then you see that and you're like, it's disturbing, but it's also a beautiful piece. I mean, and like your Joker too, I think has that same kind of like your take on it, where it's cartoony, but it also has that like very the angles and everything else just make it completely a unique piece.
Yeah, that was for a comic convention where they were doing a gallery for charity based around Mark Hamill's history, and they reached out to me and they said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I'll do the Joker." And this was a one that I wanted to do with sculpting marks still in it to try the rough approach. And they also wanted to, it had to mix with Star Wars. So that's why I made Darth Locutus or something.
Yeah.
I had the name written down, I forgot it. Yeah. So there's the guy right
there. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
So good.
Super cool.
Do you enjoy painting? I mean, do you enjoy? Because I mean, I know is it something you find enjoyable?
No.
Well, hey,
I don't hate it. I'll do it if I have to, but it's just not my thing.
Yeah, but we've also talked to many guests that say it's almost a necessary evil. You need to be a jack of all trades, right? So you need to know how to sculpt, mold, cast, and then paint and do all these things yourself so that you can be self-reliant in a way, right? You don't need to bring in somebody from the outside.
Yeah, I don't like molding. I don't like casting, but I do most of it myself. It's just something that I do. With painting, it's the first thing I think I can step away from, and then the other things after. But
so, do you have a go-to painter for some of your work? I mean, do you say another one?
No, this is the first time I'm actually using someone of this scale for this guy. He's fantastic. He's incredible. I've had such a delay on getting everything done. I'm sure he's forgotten about me, but we stay in touch. There's a lot of fantastic painters out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I worked with a lot of them. I mean, like Steve Wang and Gino Acevedo and Tom Gillian. And there's a lot of amazing sculptors and makeup artists are also amazing painters too, and a lot of them like Gino and Steve. Jordu's an amazing painter. I mean,
Gino was a lot like you. We're just like completely open and kind of very forthright and helpful. And when it came to Gino, we got down to the brand and model and make of the right airbrush. And then people have, and they're probably watching now. They went out and bought that exact one because of Gino. So we're happy to have that kind of a legend telling us his method. So it's awesome stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy when I showed up on Godzilla, the '98 one. I heard Steve Wang I would be working with Steve Wang, and I was blown away. But then I realized he was not the lead sculptor. Gino was, or lead painter. Gino was. And that
Oh my God.
Yeah, and they had Steve set out in the tent, outside, and then Gino was in there, and it was just, watching both of them work. I mean, that was my favorite project, just because I got to work with so many incredibly talented, legendary, and really honestly nice people. So yeah. I mean, Jose Fernandez was my boss, and I was sculpting under him. I learned so much from Jose, Ironhead Studios. I mean, you can go through Dave Grasso, Mark Maitre, Patrick Totopoulos. I can just go down the line of some of the amazing Jim Cagle. That's where I first worked with Jim. Incredible sculptor. He sculpted Chucky from Child's Play and was
okay.
He did all the Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
No way.
That's his style too, and he's got an amazing style. And I brought him in and had him teach for years.
Speaking of teaching, because I'd love to know more about Legends Makeup Academy, because I know that's relatively new. I mean, tell us about how that started and how I know you and V met a long time ago, but tell us about your academy.
Yeah, well, we met working together, and we were working at Cinema, and I had been working with them for close to 20 years at the school, on and off, teaching, and then as an administrator and director. Then the pandemic hit, and I was no longer with Cinema anymore. And V and I were sitting down, and we're talking about, we should start our own school. And we did. And so our approach is to, introduce students to the legend of today, learn how they stand on the shoulders of the legends of the past, and train the legends of tomorrow. And that's the whole reason behind the name.
Nice.
And we on our website, legendsmakeup.com, we go over, our philosophy with being able to come in and take focus classes instead of having to spend, $80,000 or $50,000, and half of it, but you're doing it to get, this 1 or 2 or 3 teachers or specific training. You can come in and train in what you want, and then, get out, which is great, which enables us to be able to bring in specialists as instructors instead of jacks of all trades. where you're stuck in a class for 4 weeks or 6 weeks. This time you can come in and take the 1 week. Like next week, I'll be teaching sculpting, so that'll be a lot of fun. We also keep our classes small. It's 12 students or less. All of our instructors are Emmy and Academy Award winning, and they all, were trained by some of the best people out there. We don't hire graduates to teach. It's a serious endeavor. We're trying to make it kind of like the Ivy League of makeup schools, because we do take it so seriously. We have our building being finished right now, hopefully by winter. We're in Studio City, Valley Village area. Right now we're doing our beta classes out of Friends Beauty, because one of our other partners is Paul, who owns Friends. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, it's always tough starting up a new business, but and we're going up against the big dogs like Mud and Cinema. But I think we're bringing something a little different to the table. So
but it's Lee and V. It's like you guys. Right. They got to watch out. I mean, this isn't a newbie at this point.
No, God no. We know what we're doing, and we love it. And but hopefully people can check it out. We're on all the social media sites. And, we'll be at various conventions in the future, Monsterpalooza, Comic-Con, and so on. We were at the last Monsterpalooza. And V gets out there and does her demos, and I'll sculpt and chat with her, give them advice.
That's how we met.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I saw your demon sculpture that I am completely obsessed with, and just couldn't believe that it was in front of me. And you were the nicest human being I had met there, and we met a lot of nice people there. It's a great community, and you were nice enough to chat with me for it had to be 15-20 minutes, and it was such a pleasant experience. Now I have a question as far as is there an admissions process for this? So can any?
There is, yeah. Right now with the beta testing, we're keeping the classes small, like 7 students or less. And some of the classes, there might just be, 1 or 2 students. We're just, again, it gives us a chance to test things out and see what changes we want to make to the curriculum or to the price or whatever. But it's designed to have the foundational classes, the intermediate classes, and the advanced classes. So with the intermediate and advanced, there might be or there will be portfolio reviews and interviews, because we don't want to waste their time. We don't want to waste the teacher's time. We don't want to waste the other students' time. Yeah. Right now, it's not as big a focus because we're just taking, classes that we can teach in that space and doing them. And they tend to be a lot of application classes, or sculpting, I would say. But, there's, you'll have, say, the anatomical sculpture class, which is training you on human anatomy. Well, I would strongly recommend that as a precursor to the creature bust sculpture. And then I would strongly recommend the creature bust sculpture before the full body creature sculpture. But they don't have to take our classes. They just have to send us pictures, and maybe we'll have some questions and, so on and so forth. We just want to make sure people are getting what's best for them and their portfolio and what they need. We tend to get a lot of professionals taking the classes because of the instructors we have. Everyone wants to come and learn directly from V. Neal or Steve Laporte or whomever we have come in. So that's been refreshing. And you tend to get older students, which is refreshing. But we take anybody. I mean, it's just we got to make sure you're taking the class that's right for you.
Right. Sure. So, like just saying, hypothetically, a friend of mine is a pumpkin sculptor. Like, how would you be able to get in?
Sure.
A guy?
I have a couple of friends that might be, in the market to learn from the best.
Well, I would be happy to have them. Yeah, and we've got Brian Wade on our board, and Brian's an incredible sculptor. If you guys haven't seen his work, Millionaire Clay Boy.
Oh yeah.
He's actually going to be a guest coming up.
He's coming up. Yeah.
Nicest guy.
He is one of the nicest guys ever. So I'm just excited. He's just so busy all the time. That's the problem.
Yeah.
People got to deal with me, I guess, until I can get Brian back up.
Funny story. I met him at Monsterpalooza. He was another one that I really wanted to meet. And Matt and I were doing our thing with our squash, and there's a hand directly like 2 inches over my shoulder pointing and talking to someone saying, look how cool that is. He's doing subtractive, blah, blah, blah. And as I turn, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's Millionaire Clayboy.
Oh, yeah.
And he was the nicest guy.
No, he is literally, my God, I don't know. But I've met so many nice people in the industry. I've met my share of jerks and assholes, but
we could talk about them too. It's fine. We can change their name.
But, yes, ratings.
The show's going to go dark real quick, guys. It's going dark.
Beep, 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 beep.
Brian's fantastic. I never worked with him. I don't think I did. Because a lot of the times, more recently, like when I worked with Joel on some of the Star Trek films, he was awesome because he let me work from home.
Oh, wow.
So he would give me like Johnny Depp's life cast and say, here's, oh my God, I got to think of the designer, the artist. But that was an amazing project. And he named the alien after me, which was funny. He called it Loliki, which was cute. But I think it was I don't think it was the first one. I think it was the second one, the reboot. I don't know, but did a full big animatronic alien for him, which was awesome. But I was able to work tangentially with Matt Rose and Don Lanning and,
wow,
all these amazing people. Oh, Joey Orozco. Oh my God. But sadly, I did it from home at night in the garage. And I wasn't there for the group photo. I was kind of bummed out, but
oh
man.
But that, yeah, I there's, you do meet a few bad eggs, but I've been fortunate in that everybody's been pretty nice and receptive.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I mean, we're on the outside looking in, but when we went to Monsterpalooza, it was literally as fanboys trying to kind of see if we couldn't bring something new and fun, for the people walking around. And it was just a who's who of Jesus. We go, Jesus, he was so nice. Oh, she was so nice.
Mm-hmm.
And where I'm from, that's a red flag. Nobody knows. I don't trust any of you sons of bitches. You're all too nice.
I was telling Rabbit about there's a great Simpsons episode where Hollywood comes to Springfield to film, and they can't stand Springfield and they hate everybody and they want to go back to the rainbows and bunny rabbits of Hollywood. Yeah. But there is a code of ethics professionally that you should have in the industry here, because you want to get recommended, you want to get hired, you got to go socialize, there's all these things, and then people might say that's fake. Well,
that's life.
That's life. Life is fake if you're going to create a mask to get around every day. So I think it kind of keeps people on their toes and makes sure they're not. You get the occasional ones, but
well, as long as everyone is like you and Gino and Ted Haynes, and man, we're just like hitting it out of the park, meeting some of the best people. I mean, like people, not you crazy good sculptors and artists, but just like to have this kind of conversations with a lot of our folks. I think that's the part that is like really humbling to us, because we're I mean, again, we're working with a pretty ephemeral, very short-lived little medium, and it's seasonal. It's kind of silly sometimes, but it's it's something we have an insane passion for, and we get to hang with really awesome people. My biggest joy is finding out how everyone's just damn cool and a really cool community.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm just happy to and still pinch myself that I'm able to do this. So I'm this little punk kid from Alabama, lived on a dirt road. I just didn't stop. I just kept moving forward. Johnny Pearson's asking how to spell Jim Cagle. Kagel. James Cagle. You can find him on IMDb, and he's got a website. And his work is incredible. Super nice too.
Yeah, there's we're talking about just personalities, but remember the people that are super creative. Like I have a friend who I first met when I moved to LA in 1997. Super amazing artist, and people thought that he was I'll just say eccentric and just really hard to deal with. I found him a breeze.
Yeah,
he was super cool, but I think that also it takes we're definitely wired, people that are creative. We look at the world differently, and there's but it's also, it's like, you're gonna, butt heads with people always. And it's usually with the people who don't get it, but but the people that are super creative, and that they have an energy that's really hard to harness and kind of hard to understand as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I know I've had my reputation as being difficult to deal with because the students would say they would always get afraid when I would walk behind them and look at their sculpture, look at their work, and what's he going to say? I was never mean. It was just like, I had to learn to ask, do you want me to give my opinion? I'll be happy to. But it's because a lot of people weren't used to being, given direction.
Yep.
Great job and everything's wonderful. Like, well, but you're paying us money to improve you and make you better. That wouldn't be fair of me to do that. But I guess I'm like maybe a sculptor version of Ron Swanson, kind of.
I love that.
Sculptor's not the best, and I'm a huge libertarian, and I'm autistic, and I have all these other issues with social anxiety and other things. So I'm sure over my career, I've talked to people in a certain way where maybe I thought I was helping them. Why don't they see that I'm helping them? And then they were like, freaking out on the inside, or, I arranged a job interview for them. And then, maybe they thought that, why did they want me to get an interview with that company when I wanted to work with that? It's the weirdest. Sometimes humans are difficult to read and work with, and I try my best, but doesn't always work.
Yeah, as someone with a plus 30-year graphic design career, I will definitely say that the people that were the hardest on me, I learned the most from, and that demanded more from me and thought I could do better, and didn't coddle me. Said like, that would, like, when I was just thinking things out, they would come, to my screen and say like, "Oh, is that what you're thinking?" It's like, I'm not even like past even thinking of, like, I'm in the process of thinking. So, but those people pushed me to actually, work harder, be better. And I think it's one of the things, there is a point where you do have to say like, this is awesome. This is, this is great.
Yeah,
but there's also a point where you say like, this is, maybe you're not good at typography. Maybe you're not good at color theory. Maybe, and push them.
Sure. Yeah. And you also have to give feedback and teach at the level they're at. You can't expect someone that has experience or training in the classroom and then compare someone that just first time they touched clay to that. So, you just have to, it's like walking through a minefield in a way. You're testing, you're probing. Okay, I think they really want to do this, or they take it home at night and they're practicing and they're doing better. And, so it all depends on their passion. I believe firmly for most of my life, I believe that I could teach anybody to sculpt if they had the passion, regardless of how bad they are in the beginning. They just can't give up. That's the important thing. And a lot of people give up. They just don't, they have such high expectations for themselves or their career. They're not willing to give it time to put in the 10,000 hours.
Right.
And, if you love it, don't beat yourself up about it. Just keep doing it over and over and over.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Right. When people, totally not on the same level, but people will ask us like, how did you get good? It's, subtractive sculpture on something like this. And my buddy John Davis would say, well, the key is to do about 100 of them and have them all be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually you'll do one that isn't as terrible, but you got to do it again because you like it, because you actually want to get better. Right. And then they go, oh, really? I thought you could just get like a book or a video or something. It's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's why we don't do online classes. We prefer to do everything in person.
Oh, that's
it's more difficult. It's less income, less students, but I don't care. V and I feel very strongly about that. You need to be able to stand next. If you're going to do it for real. Do it seriously. This is a career you're planning. You need to stand next to these people. Plus, you're networking with someone like V. Neil.
Totally.
And then
Right.
You're on first name basis, and that's what this industry is. More than 50% networking.
Sure.
Yes.
It doesn't
Yes.
matter how good you are. They don't know who you are, or they
Who
don't trust
are you? Yeah. Who do you
you're a
know?
jerk or whatever. They're going to hire somebody they know that'll show up on time, be positive, and stay until the end of the day. And they can balance that with bringing in someone maybe that's difficult to deal with, but you have them in just for a few days or a week, and that's it.
Right.
You pay them a lot more, but you've also got to think about the team and the general emotions and mentality and the schedule and so on and so forth. So it's more, people are always going to say I'm not good enough, or no one's responding, or it's just too difficult. Well, okay, but just keep doing it, and the volume and showing people that you care about it and that you're willing to put in the effort goes a huge way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. It's the passion. It goes back to the passion, and not in being able to take criticism too is huge, which I don't think a lot of people these days understand that's part of it.
You can't take it personally. That's the most important thing. And it's very, my approach is very, stoicism in that regard. Because when I started out, I was very anxious and took everything personally. Not like I would get angry or yell, but it would just stay inside me, and I would beat myself up about it. But eventually you have to relax and not get attached to the clay and let it go and just do your best and move on to the next job. Because when you're doing these jobs, that's all that matters, is that one job and how you feel doing that one job. But you have to realize that will pass, and there will be another one, and there will be another one. It's fine.
And that's not a bad thing either, because you become hyper focused on the task at hand, right? So, and if you're not stressed out over your current job, it ain't going to be that good.
Yeah.
You should be completely frightened of doing a bad job, in my opinion, right? Because you're putting all the pressure is all on you. It's all internal, but that's what makes you better, right? Like you said in the beginning, when he said, go sculpt Marilyn Monroe, you had never done anything like that before. I'm sure you were, excuse the phrase, but shitting your pants trying to do it.
Of course.
Language.
Of course. I still don't like that sculpture to this day, but everybody else liked it, so I guess they saw something.
and then make her bald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bald. Sculpting women is tough, but then sculpting them bald and then sculpting them to look like they're wearing makeup, because makeup is all about contouring and changing the features and the topography. So yeah, it's tough. It's very tough. And then you give it to someone and they do a crappy makeup job on it or paint job.
Right.
Throw a shitty wig on it and put it out there. And you're like, oh.
That's the business too.
Yeah. That's
Let
what
you also said something. You said something that I agree with, which is, to this day, you don't like it, but other people do, right?
Yeah.
And, there might be the rare exception where you're like, wow, all right, I did a good job on that. But for the most part, I know I feel this way. I'm always like, it could have been better.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but I feel as though it should be better.
Right. Yeah.
And somebody else is going to look at it, and it's going to be their favorite thing ever. And
I agree. It's like reading a novel. There could be a paragraph that's not that great, but when you look at it in the whole chapter, it's an amazing chapter. It's the same thing with sculpting. It's just you create a story through your work, and that was a big thing with me being autistic, is trying to get a grasp of those nuances and create a policy in my mind as to how to handle this. And that's why I think it took me a lot longer maybe than other people. I still don't think I'm that great. I do some things well, but I still get nervous when I do jobs, and when I do jobs where they want something and they want something specific, I'm like, oh God, maybe I'm not the guy for this.
Sure.
I've dealt with clients before where they kept asking me to change things, and I said, okay, you know what? Here's your money. I'm done. I'll just give them back their money.
Wow.
And then I had the sculpture now on my own. I can do with it what I want. So that's how, Ron Swanson I am, I guess. I don't think about it as normal people would, I guess. I don't know. And I've never really changed in that regard. And But I think I was fortunate in that I was able to create a style that people wanted, and that helped. That really did help. And I love doing faces, expressions, emotions. I would go crazy that was the piece I did for the Orville. He actually just told me to do whatever I wanted on this. And he said, kind of like this, do this. And I did it. And did that from home.
Wow.
That was a fun piece.
Yeah. Speaking of, sorry, Paul, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when you said you developed your own style, I mean, that's one of the main reasons that I like your stuff so much, is your style speaks to me from the standpoint of facial expressions, because I primarily carve faces.
Yeah. Same.
And it's not like the run of the mill, like a photograph. It's stylized. It's got like this whimsical quality to it. And it's so well done that you stare at it and anatomically, this thing doesn't exist, but that's just correct. Right. It's spot on. And I've spent so many hours just staring at some of your stuff and just being like, how? Like, I someday maybe, but probably not. We're all being honest here, but but it's always been.
I mean, the fact that you do it all subtractive in a time limit because you're dealing with a gourd, that's amazing.
Yeah, and Matt and I have a running bet. It's not a contest, but if I finish first, I win.
That too.
That three.
So while we're running,
I've got someone asking, how did you manage the life-work balance?
Good question.
Well, I worked all the time. I would go home and sculpt. I love playing video games. I love movies, watching movies. I love travel. But I'm not a big social butterfly. So, and the great thing about watching movies is you can be sculpting while you're watching movies. Yeah. So, and they thought I had ADHD when I was a kid. That's what I was prescribed with. And they put me on whatever Ritalin. But the problem was I was not ADHD. I was autistic. And I'm a late diagnosed. Which is a completely different approach to everything. At that point, it's something you're born with, and it's nothing you can medicate away. You just have to deal with the comorbidities. So the good thing about the autism is that I can laser focus, and I learn everything and as much as I can about that field. And that was how I approached things. I said, okay, in the Lovecraft arena, I want to climb my way to the top and be recognized as one of the top people out there. And I don't say that to sound like I have a big ego about it. No, that was my goal. That's what I wanted to do.
Right.
And that was the same reason I came out to Hollywood. And that's the same reason I love Alice in Wonderland. And I said, I want to be what people think of, or one of the ones they go to for reference or to look at with that. And then I only do it in areas that I like. I'm not doing it for sports. I'm not. So it was a way for me to find a career where I could do something that I loved and get paid for it, I guess, if that makes sense.
It always makes sense to do what you love, Lee. I'm trying to do it right now, but nobody wants to pay me enough to quit my job.
Right.
Well, let's go around. Let's see what you're working on. Matt, I'm going to start with you here.
Bastard. All right.
Sorry.
All right. So it's a ways from being done. So I'll give it a little bit different light. Sorry if I'm messing something up here. Okay. So instead of like the normal witch, this is not in good focus.
No, you're good. You're good.
Sorry. All right. So instead of doing the normal witch with a big brim or something like that, I'm going to have her head kind of wrapped in a cloth of some sort. So I'm going to make this as much cloth as I can with hair coming out down the sides. And I wanted her to kind of be like blowing a kiss, but have a crooked smile with some bad teeth in there too. So I got a ways to go, but I'm realizing I'm already close to the cavity on her where her eyes are going to be. So I don't know what I'll be able to do, but I was thinking maybe a wink on this side and kind of like this, that kind of thing. So anyway, a ways from being done, but she's starting to kind of shape up. But again, this is the beauty of this is the early blocking process of this thing, and it'll be very different later.
Looking good. Oh, there you go. Oh,
Gonna give me warning.
Oh, there he
So
is.
I'm not a gluer. From maybe time to time, I'll glue on a nose or something. Horns, yeah, all day. But like, so I'm gonna give her like a schnoz. All right.
Awesome.
There you
So
go.
I'm gonna give her the yeah.
Do you attach that with sticks, or
Say that again.
how did you attach that with just little sticks?
I use I just have toothpicks and I'll break them off
toothpicks.
so that they're only holding it on there, but the little insider tip here, Lee. This is our go-to.
Magic.
Super
Yes.
glue on
Yeah.
any wet surface, especially squash or human skin, because if you get that stuck with, that's going to stick too. But it is your best friend in these situations. And for seams, we rake all our tools with the little teeth, so I get that pumpkin putty.
Yeah.
So if it isn't quite perfect, after when I really get it refined with shape and find all that, if there is a seam, I can actually just fill it with putty and make that seam go away. For the most part,
Yeah, that's
if I've done it right.
Do you mix super glue with the putty, or are you just putting the putty itself in?
Yes, as you can tell.
Okay.
Okay.
Note to self: do not mix super glue with putty.
I've
You know
got
what
a-
happens? Super glue turns white if you screw with it, move it around or whatever. So if you try to spread it around or you touch it with your tool and it's still a little wet, it'll create a white streak on it. And then after it gets hard, then you got to scrape that away. So a lot of times you'll spend in there with a knife. If you've put too much glue on the seam, you'll have like a white outline, of the overflow. And so we try to use as little as possible, just enough in the middle to hold it in place, and then really try to shape that seam line to match, and then kind of, if you have to, smooth it with putty.
Right.
But
I've got a witch I did for distortions on my Instagram, about halfway down, I think. Side profile right after my Thanos and right before my Weekend at Bernie's and my Incredible Hulk. But that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing that piece. He's still selling those too, which always makes me happy to see them.
that's awesome.
All these witches over a cauldron.
Yeah. The witches are always a big draw for people when they're asking us to sculpt them over, Halloween. But if you look at a pumpkin, they don't really lend themselves. These things just automatically, because of the shape, that long, stretched face with a long nose, and you can get crazy, chin and stuff in there, or even add a big long chin. But pumpkins are really difficult to pull a good witch out of, unless it's kind of more of that. Remember the witch from Snow White? Kind of, instead of being, and she had that more old grandma rounder face. See, that's a big bulbous nose and stuff. So that's more. But for Wicked Witch of the West, you got to get angles. So
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of a hat on this, I think, Matt, like you were saying on yours, I might undercut a lot of this, like I did the last time we got a witch, and create almost a hood, and then go back and create strands of hair with another tool and kind of place them strategically. So it's more like that Snow White witch. Because I got to tell
you, Paul, she's naughty, so we got to make her naughty. So I don't know how that's going to translate.
I got a banana I'm going to incorporate into the sculpture. She's going to be very naughty. Peaches.
You're not allowed to say that.
I don't know, man. She's going to be naughty though by the end of it.
One way or the other.
So let's we've actually gone super cool. Yeah, we have a lot. We have not gone through Lee's portfolio here. So
come on, Mick, get on it.
We're definitely
it's my Joker Batman based on the toy they did. And I did a silicone prosthetic for the mouth because he had these little stapled corners of his mouth from the cut. That was a lot of fun to sculpt.
That's dynamite.
Yeah,
and that was it's tough to make the cowl because you're dealing with urethane and different foams and
Wow, I can't even wrap my head around it. That's otherworldly.
That's my new 52 Joker. That's the latex mask I sell based upon the prosthetic I did a few years before. Yeah. And we just shot that in a really cool location in the basement.
Yeah, it's super cool.
And there's one of my Innsmouth guys. I actually
so good.
I had Yeah, I did the mare, and then I've got the oh, here it is, the female, and then the so just different test pieces, trying out different translucencies. But he has a like a long cigarette holder and a monocle.
Oh yeah.
And I've got a little rose that goes on his lapel, and then I've got the truck driver too. So he had a cigar stogie coming out.
So good.
And then I have the female, Desiderata, and I have a crochet flower that fits there, and I had some pearls that go on, and of course the the gills back there. So that was
the old hat, the old flapper hat, or whatever that is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep.
So, excuse me, is this all from you, from your brain, or
yeah?
Your brain works fantastic.
Well, thank you.
It's and these are the things, like when I find these, I'm like, how? Like I got it's got a little bit of aquatic touch to it, and the cheekbones is another thing I always look for in certain sculptures, and you always nail it the way they're sunken in. It just gives it such a cool look.
Well, thank you.
Even when they're fat, like there you can see the cheekbones, and it almost lends itself to believe that there's a skeleton under there, right?
Yeah,
and
this guy I've got, you can see that,
right?
I've got,
you can see it right under
because I wanted to deal with the flowing and the collar pushing up as well. And he's a little older, right? He's probably in his 50s or 60s. So.
Yeah.
Well, he could be 500. We don't know.
Yeah. My characters, I want them to have style. I want them to have a hairstyle. I want them to, look like they're thinking about something, or what are they doing, or what job do they have, or whatever. So I think that just adds to the personality.
And they got up and got dressed that day. What did they dress like? They had
This was a piece V and I did together for Sideshow Productions for their. They had a few books out and a lot of toys or collectible statues. So I sculpted the mask and the prosthetic underneath it. Madison, one of my students, did the headpiece, and a lot of other people helped on the body and the wardrobe. But I had to make the eyes glow, so I got those LED panels and heat formed them, and then had the batteries inside there. And then the mask is held on with a magnet, so you could take it off or put it on if you wanted to.
And what scale is that? And what am I looking at? Like, is that something?
That's a person.
That's a wearable.
Holy shit! Okay, I was picturing that's like.
Okay. Yeah. There's
wow, that's full size. Okay.
David. Oh shoot, I forget his last name. We worked with him out of Utah. He did all the beautiful armor, and he and his friends. Shoot, I can't remember his name. I gotta research it. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun because I loved working with them as well as with Sideshow. They were great to work with.
That's perfect.
That was a piece I did with Mike Elizalde, who runs Spectral Motion Effects. He did the Hellboy movies, and then we did it as a demo with his daughter or he did it with his daughter as the application. But there's another piece, I think, on my Instagram, probably about 2/3 of the way down, which is it was blue, so they ended up painting him blue. But I did the form, and then Mike handed it off to Joey Orozco, which was awesome, and he did all the detail and all the texture. Wow! And again, a prosthetic. And I got that guy over there. That's my undead samurai.
I love
so
that.
Again, I was trying to go with a hairstyle and looking like he's in the middle of something that's going on.
The motion in that, just immediately, you just want to, like, you're in the moment because everything's happening. Like, it's just his hair, his tongue, the scowl. I mean, he's in mid yell. That's
and he's an example. I mean, I had probably done 4 different versions of that before I got to that. I had done it with a hole in the head. It was more artistic, and then I had done him as a kind of a Hellboy style, Mike Magnolia kind of style with the big forehead and as a demon, and he evolved into this, and I was happiest with that one. So
I love it. The neck by itself just has that structure of like tension. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, I love Platysma. So
I have definitely used that for reference on certain things. Even where the lip, even where the teeth intersects with the lip, because it's kind of pulled, you know what I mean? There's expression there. So where does the lip get thin? Where is it being pulled from against the teeth?
Oh, exactly. No, and you do a great job with that too. This was a client a long time ago. It was about 1.5 times human size, just a silicone.
Wow.
He wanted a Lou Ferrigno, but if it was done for today, so he wanted me to make it more comic booky and more pumped.
Oh, wow.
So,
Mission accomplished.
Thank you.
Well done. That's insane.
Another prosthetic I sculpted for RBFX, just face, and I can't remember if I did the ears or not. Maybe, I can't remember. I think I did.
That's a wild paint job.
I think that was Sydney. Shoot, I can't remember his last name. That was a Photoshop I did on my sculpture of Thanos when I was finished for the prosthetic, and I just colored it. So that's just, I wanted to color it before we did the makeup test just to see how that worked.
Oh, that's cool. Is that what similar to this?
This is Loliki, the one I did for Joel.
Okay.
That's just a photo of the sculpture. So that was on Johnny Depp's live cast.
It looks almost exactly the same.
It does, doesn't it? Especially in the eyes. Yeah, but now it's different. And that was a fun project. That was the one I was working at home in my garage. You know, I just put a big whiteboard behind it and light it.
So
I love the story behind this next one because as someone who's also divorced, I know how I put everything into my work.
Wow.
And I think that this was you had mentioned in your Instagram post that this was something that you made about that time.
Yeah, that was after the divorce, and I was trying to get back into sculpting, and I made a post about it. Yeah, and then I threw that away. It was just a process.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was water clay, so it was a fast sculpture. Then I just let it dry.
Oh, wow. So it cracked and turned into whatever.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, the fact that you captured it makes all the, that's kind of what we always deal with is whatever the camera can get while this thing's starting to rot on its own. So I love the fact that it's still got the marks in it. It just makes it more special.
Yeah, it was a fun piece. I always like doing pieces with smiles or expressions. And sometimes doing it for film can be, unless it's a maquette, can be, a little technical and boring. That's why I enjoy doing the smiles and the expressions.
Yeah.
Wicked smiles, I guess.
Hey.
Yeah, there's my Thanos. So that's the after I floated the facial piece off of the full head. And so that's ultracal or stone as the base piece. And then probably, I think, even though it's kind of reddish, I think that was just NSP. And I actually did a silicone brush up of that before I molded it. Or you have to chisel away all the undercuts and everything if it's your core. And then I did a clay pour, and I resculpted the piece to look like he was like make it a wall mount. It's covered in dust, but one of these days I'm going to finish it.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
So that's me working on him. And I was going to put fabric on the rest of it because I wanted it to look like from the comic. So I wanted the fabric texture. So that's why he's been sitting around, because I just haven't gotten around to pushing the fabric into it.
Well, the expression on his face has that smug,
Yeah.
That was important for me.
Beautiful.
The square jaw and everything is so amazing.
Again, you see, I just do things I like. So those were Loliki's arms. After a lot of, and those are different variations. I had done lots of different variations of the suckers on the hands and different musculatures. And it's working with Joel back and forth. Obviously, the ones on the left were earlier on, and those were out of monster clay. And then the ones on the right, I think, were what they finally wanted in regards to the suckers. And they wanted them more tree froggy.
Rounded.
I went from a more pointed, almost claw-backed suckers with more Lovecraftian shapes to more rounded and more, that kind of thing. Because I think it made him a little too sharp edged, and they wanted him more, you know, goofy kind of
Like sea monkeys.
Yeah.
See, right? It does look like.
Yeah.
I mean, I just always think of those. That crown they had those little bubble.
Right. Right.
So awesome.
That was for Alice Cooper for at Distortions when I was there, because Edmonds does a lot of work with Alice. So I got to do a lot of things for Alice. That was Baby Betty, I think, or the $1 Million Baby. I can't remember, but it was a two-headed, you know, wolf baby. Just a quick, probably a 2 or 3 day sculpture, because you didn't get more than 3 or 4 days to do anything at Ed's. You had to just bang that stuff out. It's water-based clay.
That's super cool.
How long is a day at the office when you work for Ed? Like, are we talking 12, 14 hours?
Minimum 12 to 14. Wow. And then I would work Monday through Saturday. And then when I was his longest in-house sculptor, and then once I started on staff like that, it was regular time. But when he would fly me up for a month or two, you're just constantly
you don't leave. Yeah,
I screwed up my wrist because of that, really badly. Because you're doing huge pieces too.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So it's a lot of using your fingers as rakes and all kinds of crazy
stuff.
Wow. Something like that's awesome. Yeah. Look at that.
That's old, what do I call him? Sawtooth, I think. I got him back there too. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. He actually started out as a young dragon that was a lot smoother, and then that had more of a beak. And then I changed him into kind of my version of Smaug in a way, but not really. So
he has that Smaug look. I mean, he completely has that. He's about to test a young hobbit.
Yeah,
that looked like, come on, talk to me. Here I am.
Exactly. Yeah, he doesn't look like a dumb lizard. He's very intelligent dragon.
Yes,
he just might be missing a couple of chest plates. Watch out. Yeah.
So if you want to see more of Lee's work, go to his Instagram. He also has we've 90 minutes, the fastest 90 minutes on the internet, right? Yes.
It was awesome.
Well, this is where you can see his work, but if you want to get if you're one of the few lucky people to pass the test to get into some of these classes, I mean, that'd be what a tremendous opportunity to get trained by a master here. So
yeah, it's just legendsmakeup.com. So if you guys ever want to do some sculpting classes or anything, just hit me up. I'm real approachable. You can contact me through Instagram and I'll get back to you. And yeah, I get back to everybody.
I can attest to that. He actually got back to me.
Ooh.
Only old Paul.
Giggity.
So here's where we are. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and I'm going to add it. We're on TikTok. We're gonna start flooding that.
No!
Yes, I'm making the commitment. We got to do it now. I put it out to the universe. So we again, we're definitely want to connect with everybody. We want to grow this community. It's really awesome. And then the fact that we can have legends like Leon is just even further reason why we do this. Thank you, Lee.
I would like to thank each and every one of you guys. You guys have been wonderful. And I also want to give a special thanks to Rabbit, my fiance. She has been wonderful in helping me get prepared.
Well, we say hello. Yeah.
Thanks, Rabbit.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
guys,
thank you for having the best name I've ever heard. I want to be called Rabbit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He is awesome.
Guys, any last words before we close out for this week?
Matt, you go first.
I'm going to go ahead and say what Paul's going to say, but follow that guy and just thank you to the end of the world for coming on our show and hanging out with us and just showing us your tips and just, in your life with us. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Trust me.
Yeah. And I want to say the same thing. Like, this guy is one of my favorite sculptors. I have over 60 pictures in my phone of screenshots of his work just for inspiration. And when we went to Monsterpalooza, initially I didn't know it was Lee because he was just having a snack behind a bunch of sculptures. And this guy was just being so nice and talking about the sculpture. And I could relate to what he was talking about, facial expressions and musculature and all this. And then I'm like, holy shit, that's Lee Joyner. So it was awesome that at first I didn't know who it was because I couldn't really see him clearly. But this is the real deal. This is a legend, and he's also a great guy, and he was nice enough to hang out with us. So I'm very humbled. I appreciate your time, sir. It's been awesome.
Well, again, it was wonderful to meet everyone and everyone who showed up in the chat. Thank you for your questions.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, and I'd love to be back at any point.
Yes, we'd love to have you. Please, we'll take advantage of that for sure. Thank you so much. So we will be back next Thursday with another Carvers and Creators. It is the March to Halloween, the big carving season. So we have a lot of stuff coming up. So definitely watch our social media. Definitely follow us every week. And we will see you next Thursday for another Carvers and Creators. Good night, everyone. Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.